What's up, y'all? It's your boy DJ BuzzB.
And it's your boy JKD.
And from the time you hear the voices, you know it's only up from here. It's the Up From Here podcast. Welcome to our brand new podcast platform. Our podcast brand is finally here.
Yes, sir.
So we know we have a lot of new people that, might be catching on to the podcast. You just watched some interview you loved and you're trailing back now watching all the episodes, but you're landed on episode number 1.
Right.
So you're asking yourself, who are these two guys? But hey, we're very friendly guys from Toronto, so you know we're friendly.
Yes, sir.
We're from Canada. But you might be wondering who these guys are.
Right.
Yours truly, DJ BuzzB, as mentioned, JKD the DJ. Guys, we have a brand new podcast platform that I am sure is going to change our culture forever.
Yep.
Whether we do it directly or spark the change in the next person to do something for our culture, I guarantee this is that podcast platform.
Absolutely.
But like I said, you might be wondering, who are these guys?
Right.
So to answer that question, Who is JKD?
JKD is a retired DJ, entrepreneur, father, brother, son, and just someone who strives to be the best he can be in this life.
Dope. So we know you. Let's take a step back too before I get into who BuzzB is.
Right.
We've been doing this podcast since 2016.
Yes, sir.
Late 2016. So this is October 2016.
Right.
It started with a whole different group of people.
Yeah.
That JKD wasn't even a part of.
Right.
But he was literally there on episode number 1 right here in studio.
Yeah.
And, he felt the vibe. He was watching how well it worked in terms of like the people just responding to us having genuine conversations.
Right.
So eventually that team dissolved, but JKD came in and was like, yo, I could be,
I could try to take,
And JKD already have chemistry.
Right.
JKD and I already have chemistry.
Right.
Because we've been friends since before that.
Right.
Since probably I think a decade now.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a funny story in itself.
Yeah.
I'm a DJ, as mentioned, DJ BuzzB. I was selling party tickets for an event. I can't even remember which one.
Right.
It
was a bunch of them.
Yeah. So I get, as always, a promoter, you're getting messages online. Yo, can I come pick up tickets?
Right.
At this time, I said, okay, you could come scoop the tickets from my house. So we get to talking. Next thing you know, we just start seeing each other here and there, build dialogue, build conversation. Right. Come to find out, homeboy literally lives 2-3 streets away from me.
Right.
Literally. Like if on a hot summer day, I could walk there easily. So that was like, whoa.
Right.
And then next thing you know, it was history from that point.
Yes, sir.
Found out he was an amazing graphic designer.
Yeah.
It got to the point where I was fed up with the people I was using and didn't want to do it all on my own because I had to pick up that trade.
Right.
I was fed up with who I was using, so I literally went on YouTube University, learned Photoshop, and started doing my own flyers.
Right.
But by the time I saw you, I was like, yeah, this is the guy.
Right.
And I just literally was like, yo, everything. Right. You do everything, I'll just pay it. Just send me the bill afterwards. And it's been that easy since.
Yep.
So, that's crazy how we even met.
Right.
But we developed a chemistry, just becoming close friends because of the nature of where we live, our like-mindedness, we're in the industry, So that was just in itself a cool story to share about the history we have.
Right.
And you mentioned retired DJ.
Yes.
So what's your Instagram going to be now? I just said JKD the DJ. So I can't send people
to... It's still going to be the same thing, bro.
But you're not a DJ. So
what DJ at Hearts though?
Are you? So this retired? Jay-Z retired or like? What is this here?
I mean, okay. So let's just be clear. I'm not doing any club DJ anymore.
So you're retired.
So like I'll take up like a wedding.
No, okay. So bro, you're not a retired DJ.
So, okay, sorry,
you're a retired
club DJ.
Club DJ and a retired. We should say retired promoter.
Yes.
So
yes,
that makes sense. But you're still gonna do it because you love the music.
Right.
Awesome.
Still play in my basement,
Yeah. Dope. Basement DJ. Yeah. That's such a disrespectful term in our culture. Oh my God. This man just called himself a basement DJ. Anyway, so that's JKD. Amazing. I love it. And there's a lot more in between what you just said.
Yes.
That you guys are gonna figure all out on this podcast.
Yes.
So
yes.
Stay tuned for that.
Can't give them all the gems.
Exactly. You'll get to know it. But even later, we'll dive a little bit more into who we are and what we do.
Yeah.
Yours truly, my name's DJ BuzzB. 17 years in the DJ industry. That fell upon me randomly.
Right.
I was procrastinating in high school and university, and I heard some captivating mix from Marksman. Marksman was doing an online radio show at the time, and big up Marksman in Toronto. He did some mix, and it just attracted me to that whole space of DJing out of nowhere.
Right.
Before DJing, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. None.
Right.
No clue. I just said I want a desk job to be able to come home to my kids at a certain time and live life like literally a hamster wheel. So, because that's all I knew. I didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
And then this DJing thing just so happened to fall on my lap. So I did what all the DJs in my era did. Went and downloaded. I typed in free DJ software because I'm not going and buying. I went and I checked. I'm not going to buy turntables if I'm not sure this is it.
Right.
So I typed in free DJ software, virtual DJ. Got it.
Right.
Next thing you know, I practiced a few mixes.
Right.
And I just replicated what I heard from Marksman and a few other things just to kind of try it out.
Right.
3-4 days later, I took it to my sister because she was already in the party scene.
Yep.
And I asked her, "What do you think?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "Wow, you have an ear for this."
Right.
And literally the rest is history.
And catapult you to who you are right now.
Exactly. So that obviously, your goals and stuff change as you progress in whatever you do.
Yeah.
But now it's at a point where I'm in a multitude of different things, including this podcast right here. Right. And when I say I'm talking about pioneering projects. Right. But aside from that, along the lines of what you said, I'm a brother, son, friend, cousin,
entrepreneur,
nephew, entrepreneur, cool guy from the six. And yeah, definitely DJing. When they ask what's your obsession these days, it has to be that, because this is what I've dedicated my life to. This is what I want to do.
That's your love.
My love. And when it comes to DJing, that was the starter story of how I got into that. But I only share that to say that before that point, which is about 18 years old, no clue what I wanted to do. And procrastinating and not doing anything, I ended up stumbling on what has taken me to now 17 years later, being also a promoter as well as a DJ, and doing events now, festival style events with 5,000 plus people.
Wow.
And I would have never in a million years dreamed that I would be the one behind the scenes doing that.
Crazy.
So it's crazy where life could take you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, further to that, because this is a podcast realm, so to speak, I want to, say kudos to the people that have been here before us. So although we started in 2016, there have been podcasts before us, podcasts to come after us that have skyrocketed. And you have to show respect to that.
Yeah.
But a lot of those podcasts really brought my attention to this space, because it's helped me in ways that I couldn't have paid for. Right. And again, it's a weird thing that I'm starting the podcast with this, because this really shows how I got to where I am.
Yeah.
It was, again, a moment of like, I'm not really doing anything. I was kind of in a rut.
Right.
I was literally not focused at all. And I ended up literally just like, for a little bit, being a couch potato and not doing anything.
Yeah.
And I just vividly remember I watched Charlemagne on YouTube. I was looking up Kanye West or something.
Okay.
And then I saw Charlemagne in an interview with Kanye West.
Right.
And then when I saw he was talking to Kanye West crazy, I'm like, wait, who is this guy talking to Kanye West like this?
Right.
And sadly, it was that dynamic that got me interested.
Right.
But after I watched that interview and I was, intrigued by it, because it's crazy that this guy is here talking to Kanye West like this on a radio show.
Yeah.
It got me looped into that whole dynamic, because Breakfast Club essentially was a podcast just on radio.
Right.
But once I got hooped into that dynamic, or roped into that dynamic, then I found people like Gary Vee.
Okay.
Then I found people like Earn Your Leisure.
Right.
Different podcasts that have really literally changed my life
Right.
and have given me the drive to push the DJ career to the next level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a lot of intricate things that I am involved in, and I'll get back into that a little bit later. But back to you.
Yes, sir.
What are the things that you look forward to doing?
For me, I think where I am, especially in my life, I'm always passionate about the next generation. Being able to share my experience, being able to share my advice, different techniques, different methods that I've learned throughout, this DJing career, my graphic design business, just life in general.
Right.
That I want to be able to share with the younger generation, bro. It's really about paving the way for them.
Yeah.
So they can pave the way for their generation, their generation, and after that, you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's where I am in my life,
and that's how it should be. We're supposed to be in here to break generational curses.
Yeah,
that's why we're here.
Right.
That things happened before us, got it,
Exactly.
but we're here to fix the potholes.
Exactly.
And that's kind of where my mindset is at and has always been.
Right.
But it requires a certain amount of attention into certain aspects of what you do before you can get to a point of teaching.
Yeah.
And I think you and I have gone through that boot camp, so to speak, or
for
lack of better words.
Yeah, I mean, we're still going through it, you know what I'm saying? But as much as we learn, we have to teach as well. So
yeah. And that's kind of where I've arrived in this whole game.
Yeah.
And when I look at it and I look at, I've been a DJ for so long, 17 years. I've been a promoter for so long, 17 years. And with that dynamic, it gets to a certain point where you start to just feel all of the negative aspects about that industry.
Right. Yeah.
And as you climb the ladder, you encounter way more stuff than you probably anticipated.
Yeah.
And I've reached a point where it's like, I'm not at the top of the hill per se, but I've gotten up the hill to at least see what's going on.
Right.
And when I look and see what's going on, I'm like, did I really need to climb this hill? Did I want to climb this hill?
Right.
Do I want to keep going up Mount Everest?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I'm here at a certain point and it's like the things I see I don't necessarily agree with.
Right.
I'm not happy with, and that's an industry as a whole.
Right.
So at this point, it's a matter of removing myself, not fully from the space, but creating my own space and own lane that I want to pave out.
Absolutely.
And with that now comes a whole new dynamic than literally just going to DJ every weekend, 2-3 times, touring, traveling, which I also do.
Yeah.
I'm now an international DJ. I've been to places like Dubai, Trinidad, London, Ghana, Japan, and that's just to name a few places that I've gone to DJ.
Yeah.
But, you deal with industry issues and politics in your own home.
Yeah.
And then you realize when you go out there, as I said, you start reaching new levels.
Right.
You go out there now and travel.
Right.
And then you realize, oh, wait, the exact same thing that's happening at home is happening out there too.
Right.
And you don't agree with any of it.
Right.
It's hard to, especially as a logical person, I don't agree with the way people handle certain things.
Right.
So I've come to a realization that that's maybe not the space I fully want to be in, at least not yet.
Right.
Because, you get treated a certain way as somebody on the come up, then established.
Right.
So, I've always been somebody from that's come from a place of wanting to help.
Right.
Right. And especially with DJing, I have never had the older brother, so to speak, to come around and hold my hand through the process and say, yo, this is what you do. This is what you do. And it's been discouraging, especially when it's like, regardless of what craft you do, it's hard when you don't have guidance.
Absolutely.
And you have to figure it all out. And then it sometimes it's the simplest thing when it's like, why couldn't they have told me that? Because I could have saved so much time and been a lot further. But a lot of people gatekeep that knowledge, and I refuse to do that.
Right.
So around the same time we started this podcast, 2016, I also started something else called the DJ Network.
Yep.
And that's literally a network to put out all the tips and tricks that I've learned at the time. And I did about 5 videos. I didn't even think twice about it, and I forgot about it.
Right.
Then, like a year or two later, I got emails from YouTube basically saying something along the lines of like, yo, are you going to collect your money? I'm like, money? What? So I go and then I find out how to get access to the money because I look at the views on the video.
Right.
One of the views, bro, was like 200,000.
Right.
I wasn't thinking anything about that at that point.
Right.
And then I saw this like check sitting in AdSense on YouTube. So I signed up for an account, downloaded the check. That was that. Then I got back into it. But again, as I said, I'm starting to do festival events.
Right.
That took precedence in terms of my time.
Right.
And throughout this whole time, I've worked a 9 to 5.
Right.
Or been in school, one of the two. So, you know, time is a lot more difficult to attain that. Yeah. But anyhow, fast forward, I did a few more videos. A lot of the videos are 20,000 views, 50,000 views, etc. So there was money being generated. Just the other stuff took precedence. Now I'm at a time where I said, okay, the rat race of DJing every single weekend, taking pay cuts because promoters don't, you know,
right,
and all of those negative aspects of the industry I've now pulled back from to focus on projects that are helping my community.
Right.
The DJ network is one of them. And that's being relaunched with this podcast in a whole like brand new fashion. That's something that will be eye-catching and something that will also change that culture in itself. Right. So there's that, the DJ network. There's the podcast, the Up From Here podcast. Yep. As I said, we've been doing this since 2016. Yep. That's what, 7 years? That's all the math I have today, by the way. Come on. But 7 years. Right. That's amazing that we've, you know, endured that length of podcasting. Yeah. And even just as a friendship, who could say, you know, we see a lot of people pass in this industry or just in life in general. Yeah. But who could say as a friend or whatever it is that you have 250, I would say, like 2-3 hour long podcasts with that person.
Yeah. I think it's even more, to be honest.
It is on all the lost episodes, but it's crazy. Yeah. And you know, we cultivated that. Right. And that podcast situation came in stages. Right. You know, at first it was the stages of, you know, you and I literally just coming here and talking as if the mics weren't here. Right. And vulgar stuff. Right. But we were just shooting it. Right. And the people liked it. Yeah. As we went to these places like Trinidad, you saw it. Yeah. People were stopping us like, yo, and it wasn't even about DJing, which is what we're known for. Right. It's like, yo, I know you from the podcast.
London too.
Oh, London, the other side of the world. Right. People are stopping us saying, yo, we love your podcast. Right. Yeah. So we saw the value in doing that by just being us. Right. But then we had to make a transition because that style was when we were kids. Exactly. You know, we're the same age, but this was like 7 years ago. Right. So we're a lot further in life. Right. So we had to make that judgment call. And that was around the time of COVID. Yeah. So I said to myself, bro, you're maturing. I'm maturing, kind of. But we're going to have to stop this like craziness on the microphones. We got a platform and we got a responsibility.
Yeah, that change needs to happen for sure.
Exactly. So we did it. Yeah. And I think I would say it was positive.
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
It was a good moment in time where we tried something. You know, not everything's gonna work from the get-go. Yeah. But you just pivot it and do your best with it. Right. And we established the People's Podcast as a podcast for something for the people. Right. It's your podcast. So we realized we have a voice. So we tried to change the dynamic of that podcast now to emphasize generational, foundational, you know, items that need to be talked about in our culture, in our generation, period. So when we broke that down, it became a more systemized way of doing it, researching for the show, bringing topics to the show. Yeah. But it got to a certain point, especially when things got busier, we had to take a seat back and say, yo, it kind of didn't feel genuine like how it used to when we came here just talking like this. Yeah. And by the way, this is not scripted.
To be honest, I think a lot of people were a bit shocked that of the amount of knowledge that we knew about, let's just say, real estate or stocks and all that stuff, because they always saw us as, you know, guys
jumping up like
around.
drunk, jumping up like crazy in a party. Yeah.
Right. So once we brought that level of seriousness to the podcast, there were some skeptical people, but a lot of people actually were we're happy that we brought that to light. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I'm so happy we did too. And it gave us the kind of push in that direction that we needed.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like the go on the straight and narrow now, guys. Come on. Like, and that put us in a good path now to be where we are now.
Right.
And the Up From Here podcast is what you guys are watching. This is just a quick intro to share who we are, where we came from, and the backstory behind us, at least a minimal version of it.
Right.
And to get the full story, you could watch all of the podcasts to come. But, you know, talking about where we are now, the Up From Here podcast, I was very particular on the name of this.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And I know you guys were telling me to pull the Joe Button route.
Yeah.
And say, yo, you have a certain leverage with your DJing. You're bringing out 5,000 people to parties. Might be in your best interest just to call it the DJ BuzzB podcast.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, when it came down to this podcast, I started it. Right? In the industry, I didn't see anybody podcasting before us. Anybody.
No. And that is a fact.
Yeah. And then before that now, after that, nobody was podcasting alongside us.
Yeah.
Right? And I said to myself, all right, we got to make this change.
Right. So
I want to be in a place where it like reaches outside of this industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this industry is very small, comparatively to the world.
Right.
It's a very small niche industry that I love and adore, but could be very frustrated with sometimes as well, because people don't give you your flowers until that time, right? Yeah. And you try to do stuff positive with your platform, but the only thing that gets likes and attention and shares is sadly the shaking of bums and parties and drama.
Right.
But we're trying to build this platform to go up from there, right? Just as the name suggests, once you tune in, you're going to listen to a lot of stories from both of us.
Right.
We're going to share our life stories and revolve the podcast around our lives because that's the easiest thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Right? But from the time you hear the guest stories, you hear the trials and the tribulations they went through, it's very important to study what they're talking about, learn from what they're talking about so that you don't have to now make that mistake. Right? We're going to have a wide variety of guests from all different facets, not just DJing, not just graphic design or anything like that. We're going to pull different people from the community and try to make it a well-rounded, informational, comical, and entertaining podcast that could help. Right? So the point is for you to tune in, hear everything, hear all the horror stories that people have had to deal with, how they overcame that. And as soon as you hear those stories, it's literally only up from there.
Right.
And that kind of is where I wanted that brand to go. Right. Okay. You know what I mean? Instead of DJ BuzzB,
makes sense. Yeah.
Instead of DJ BuzzB, what were we gonna call it?
Network. The
DJ BuzzB Network, and that could still be a name. I told you guys that because there's other people involved with us that help with this podcast that have their own missions, that have their own, things that they want to do or their own podcasts.
Right.
So I'll get into that in a little bit. But aside from that, we're going to have a lot of big projects coming aside from this.
Yes.
This is the Up From Here podcast. And, we hope you guys stay along for the ride. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a fun one. Yeah. Just from the intro alone, you should tell how we are. But, we're going to be doing a lot of other things. So what are some passion projects that you have coming?
Well, I think the number one for me is that I'm really keen and I'm really like 100% geared towards my graphic design. Yeah. So like again, about teaching the next generation, I'm actually putting out some courses with over the course of next year for people to learn how to do graphic design. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, YouTube University is great, but I find like people might get bombarded with a whole bunch of videos and all that stuff where I'm coming with the fresh perspective on little tips and tricks that can help your design get to that next level.
Yep.
So that's one big project I'm working on for next year.
That's amazing, man. And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You get all this knowledge, you learn all these things, it's to pass on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like a lot of people will, as I said earlier, a lot of people will gatekeep that knowledge, keep it away or like keep it to the upper echelon people.
Yeah.
When it's like, no, if you teach the next generation, that kid now knows these things and could take what you've done even further.
Right. Absolutely.
We have to build this as a community.
Right.
But unfortunately, that's how certain people view it.
Yeah.
And I don't look at it that way. For me, the way I look at it, if you really boil it down, I always make the reference to something like losing weight.
Yeah.
Is very 1 + 1 = 2.
Right.
Forget all of like the in-betweens. I do have a heart for that.
Right.
And I understand there's certain like variables to it and nuance. But losing weight is a very simple thing for majority of the people on this earth.
Right.
Stop eating garbage
Right.
and run.
Right.
But clearly, it's not that easy for everybody.
Right.
So I could tell you literally word for word, line for line, what to do to lose weight.
Right.
It's about who has the drive to do it.
Right.
So for me, why not just put out the knowledge?
Right.
You are going to be great regardless if you have the hustle for it. Why not just put it all out there?
Right. You're right.
Why not? And let whoever is supposed to take that information and do the right thing with it will.
Exactly.
But with anything, there's going to be always good. There's going to be bad.
Right.
There's going to be two sides to the coin.
Right.
Right. So there's going to be good. There's going to be bad. There's two sides to the coin.
Yeah.
You got to just kind of, hope for the best.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I thoroughly believe if you put it out there, the right people will find that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's dope, that course.
Yeah.
Similarly to the DJ network, I'm cultivating this whole network of DJs.
Okay.
And putting these free tips and tricks on YouTube just because like those starter things, again, not everybody, if you want to be a DJ, not everybody's willing to make an investment to do something new.
Right.
So a way to at least attract that audience, I think it just made sense to kind of put out some feelers.
Nice.
And now gather people to give or do courses on the more advanced knowledge.
Right.
That now that's a packaged commodity where something I know would take you a lot of time.
Yeah.
I'll now sell it to you for a smaller price.
Right.
And that's business.
Right.
That's how it works.
Right.
Right. And there's that. There was also the event planning playbook
Yep.
that I'm in process of creating, which is similar to, teaching people how to Photoshop.
Yep.
Mine would be teaching people how to throw events.
Nice.
I've had a lot of staple events over the 17 years, and literally my track record for filling up a venue is very high, right? I'm not going to sit here and say every event I've done has been sold out,
Right.
but I have a good track record, very good track record.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I've done poorly, if I've done 100 events, I could confidently say anywhere from 4 to 5
Right.
would have been poorly attended.
Yeah.
If that. So I feel like I've developed a science and a formula behind what I do that's also different from what others do, even if their events are much larger. Right. And I think that introduction stage, you don't have to be the guru of it to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I felt the need to create a course on that. And I see a lot of people in our community. We all see it.
Right.
Right? The people that book us. Sometimes we don't even want to go to that booking because we know it's going to be flop. It's just the reality of the situation. But why not come from a position of, let me just help the community?
Yes.
Because if you don't flop, you could pay me properly. I don't have to worry about you doing that.
Right.
Right? That's a fixed issue.
Yeah.
Furthermore, to the crowd that goes to these parties, if I now am teaching your DJs how to DJ better, you are now having a more enjoyable experience in your party.
Yep,
that's going to help the promoter grow their events.
Absolutely.
And the whole ecosystem will thrive off of that.
Right.
Right. And that's just how I think. Right. So these are like the projects that I'm very dedicated to and focused on growing so that it helps the communities I'm passionate about. Further to that, I think the only real couple things left is my Twitch channel.
Yep.
I'm back on Twitch, and
yes.
Twitch was a pivotal part of my career.
Yes.
Right? I went on Twitch. This is during COVID, the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I am more of a techie guy. I'm an online guy. So I was able to navigate that space a lot quicker. But the very important part that a lot of people should be thankful for is that period of time, although it was traumatizing, although it was tragic, that completely leveled the playing field.
Yeah.
The only people that really you can't say that about is probably like Amazon.
Right.
Anybody with an online platform.
Yep.
They definitely were thriving.
Yep.
But in most cases, it leveled the playing field.
Yeah.
That, in terms of DJing, that touring DJ that was all over the world and you could never possibly get their attention.
Yep.
Now you can.
Yep.
And I wasn't even really thinking along those lines. I just put my head down and I focused. I worked. Right. And throughout the pandemic, it was literally a lot of shows that were gaining charity funds from who tuned in to give to the less fortunate at the time. You know, food banks, women's shelters, cancer relief funds, all these different types of initiatives. And that was what my platform was initially for on Twitch. Next thing I know, I remember one morning, I was tuned into Kevin Crown's show a lot at the time. And he had a contest saying, okay, if a new DJ, if any new DJ is in the chat, or if you guys know any new DJ, tag their name and type 1. And then we're going to put it into a submission, and then the winning DJ, I'm going to send them a raid. Which is basically like if you have 500 people watching your show, I could press a button and now all those 500 people go straight to JKD's show. And it just keeps the ball rolling. So at the time, he was probably the biggest thing on Twitch in our industry, at least. So he did the competition, and I was woken up out of my bed for that. And I'm like literally wiping coal out of my eye, and they're on the phone, yo, you should sign up for this competition. And I'm having all like the imposter syndrome, the second doubts, the second thoughts about it. I'm like, nah, are you sure? He's from New York. Most of his people are from New York. Who's voting for me? They were, yo, just go. Just give it a shot. Put your name as an entry in the thing. I put my name. I not only won, I won by a landslide. So now Kevin is like, yo, who is this? All right, BuzzB. BuzzB wins. All right, we're rating you, BuzzB. Yo, I was in my room. I had to throw on clothes. Go now set up my whole computer. Kevin Crown sends me the raid. It was like 300 people. I was like shaking the way I felt at the time. Everybody came in. Oh, congratulations, BuzzB. I was shocked I had so many people vote for me. Bro, next thing, my whole computer crashes. But everybody came back and we had fun. I say that story to say it caught the attention of people like Kevin Crown. It caught the attention of Private Ryan. That whole time. It caught the attention of majority of the world in our industry. Right? There was a lot of people that, you know, still till today don't know who I am, but I understand that. I'm not going to ever walk around like, you don't know me? You know, and I get it. So, but a lot of people that were important and pivotal people to who I am today saw me during that time. So I'm back on Twitch, and that platform is special to who I am. So, you know, I'm going to be growing and cultivating that audience. And last but not least, you know, as I said, I'm taking a pause. I think pause is the better word, not stopping. I'm taking a pause on bookings. Going out to all these nightclubs, week in, week out, etc. I'm taking a pause on that to focus on my community, my culture, my generation, and my people. And most importantly, my loved ones. So, you know, I have done a lot of searching and researching and studying just life in general. And what I've come to terms with is that everybody, no matter who you are, you have something special in you that you need to access, you need to zone in on and focus on. And what better way to spend my time than teaching everybody who I love to get to a point of where I am and further. Like, I've made it far, so I know I could tell you certain things, even if you're not in my profession, give you tips and tricks to say, hey, I see this in you, let's go. You know, and things like anybody that's in my close circle of family and friends that I love, you know, down from even down to my parents. My parents are literally the traditional, what I explained earlier, that's my parents. Go to work, come back home 6 o'clock, bedtime's at 9,
wake up and do it all
wake up and do it all again. And they were amazing because I see how the world is and you know, broken households or whatever the case is. So for them to have cultivated all that, they did amazing. But they're now retired. They're getting old and they're dealing with that aspect of life right now. Seeing their parents pass, or at least my mom's side. But why not encourage them? Do what you're good at. My mom, I'll make reference to my belly again. My mom is an amazing cook. Okay. And I say, why not take her through the YouTube path or just media path and say, Mom, you know how to cook. It's not that difficult. You cook every day. Literally, now that you're retired, you cook almost every day.
Right.
Why not just hook up a couple cameras or hire somebody to film you?
Right.
I will do that. And get the footage filmed.
Yeah, true.
Teach people how to make the recipes of the foods that you have always cooked for us that we love.
Right.
And that's now a passion project that she could take on.
Right.
My father, he's amazing when it comes to yard work, the gardening. Like, you could literally drive down the block and you could pick out our house versus a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Because he's really good at it. And he spent years like cultivating that craft. So why not encourage him to do that?
Right.
So I hired the video man who we have for the podcast and has been with us from that time that we spoke about. 2017, he probably came in that era. But hired him to come and film my parents do those things. So now my mom has a cooking show coming. My dad has a gardening show coming. I have my sister. You know, she's always been somebody who came from a place of wanting to help as well.
Right.
From when she was young, she always wanted to be a nurse. Right. That was very passionate to her, especially because of our grandma. She was a nurse.
Okay.
And she took that on herself. But, you know, we've seen, especially with the pandemic, as I mentioned, where the nursing culture is going.
Yeah.
And we've also seen inflation. So we can't be relying on these companies to send us down a path of self-sustenance. Right. I can't feed my family off of this.
No. Yeah.
Especially if you have a bigger, you're now on 3 kids. You probably couldn't do it with a nurse's salary.
Absolutely not.
So that's heartbreaking to see, especially when I watched her flip textbooks on textbooks to pass these courses. For what? These people that don't give an F?
Yeah.
So why not still hone in on that, helping people?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Push her in that direction. You could do this, help young women. You could help women in your age bracket. You could help women in general, people in general. Right. Just think about that or something along the lines of like a talking to people platform, right? Amarise, she's my sister's child. Right. 10 years old in a couple months. Yeah. That's crazy. It's been a decade. Send her down the right path, lead by example. Right. You know, she still has years to blossom and grow, but as long as she's watching us do the right thing,
absolutely.
That. Yep. I've always encouraged you with your graphic designs. Yep. I book you for everything. Yep. So should show you the confidence I have in your skills. Right. And I always encourage you, keep pushing it. Yep. And I want to see you take that to a whole new level.
Absolutely.
Willard, who's been a best friend of mine for how long? Right. Helped me through some traumatizing times. That man could talk me out of like jumping off of a cliff. Right. I said to myself, why not teach him how to do what we're doing here, but in his own lane? Right. You know, I'm the last. I don't like coming here and talking about relationships like that. I don't. Right. Last podcast, it felt like I was venting every single time I talked about it, and then somebody would take something the wrong way, and it's relationships are probably the worst thing to speak about on these kind of platforms. But the craziest part is I feel Willard could do it and do it well. Right. So I feel like that's a lane for him. Skippy's now come on recently to help with the whole operation. He just came and asked if we could have a hand. Now he's very integral in the whole DJ BuzzB operation. I know he loves Excel. And he was able to do a lot of amazing work for me. So I was telling him maybe he should learn to teach Excel. A lot of people need that information in the world. Absolutely. So why not? Right? Deli, he's always helped as much as he could with the podcast. He came and helped set up the whole studio. And it looks amazing. We're probably going to have a picture, a quick video of how the studio looks that we're doing this podcast in. But it's amazing what we've been able to accomplish. And I've encouraged him, continue down your path of video shooting. Now he's recording movies, like cinematic movies. Right? He's now taking on streaming on Twitch as well with gaming. I've encouraged him with that. Farm P has come around, encouraging him. He's going to be a part of the network now. Right? And I say all this to say, like, there's been certain people that have come into my life that now that I'm at a stage of, like, I have done something substantial with my career. And it's not I'm not testing the waters anymore.
Right.
Like, this is it.
Right.
I've reached a point now, especially seeing how inflation is, how jobs treat people, how jobs could let you go in a second
Right.
and not think twice about you. You've got to develop your own. And if I could tap into that, into everybody I love and say, yo, figure out what you love. Let me help in any way I can teach you. I'm not going to fund your whole business. That's not the best way. But they tell people you should give them a fishing rod,
Right,
and teach them to fish.
right,
If you give them one fish to feed their family, that helps them for a night.
right,
You give them a fishing rod to go out there,
right,
they're good for life.
right.
And I would rather do that. A lot of people will say, yo, I can't wait to make it, and then I'm going to just buy everybody everything. And
Right.
that's amazing. Kudos to you. But tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah,
what if
absolutely.
something happens to you?
Right.
So even if you buy all these big houses for everybody and you hit the bucket,
Right.
you kick the bucket,
Right.
all of a sudden now, where are those people going to find the money to pay those bills?
Exactly.
Right? So that's my mission. And as I said earlier, it's just from a realization of all the negative things in this industry that I've spent 17 years in, and having to take a step back from that because it's affecting my energy and my peace and my solitude that I need for these passion projects. And I'm confident that doing these things is going to make us all okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And the last thing, I can't be sitting here hearing, this one talking about this at work or this one talking about their retirement fund being cut.
Right.
And I'd rather help my community, and that's where I am. That's what this podcast is for. Yeah. And I encourage all of you to do that as well. Yeah. Think about your loved ones. It's not just about you. If what you're doing is just for you, it's not big enough.
It's like earlier what you said about the mountaintop. It's like, yes, you can get to that mountaintop and see the other side, and it's beautiful, but it's even more beautiful if you can do it with the people you love and the people you care about. Because,
for instance, LeBron, right?
Yeah.
LeBron did something like
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
And what was that, if you don't mind? I can't remember
all of LeBron's friends are basically on his team. Like Rich Paul. Look at Rich Paul. Rich Paul is his friend, his best friend, and he's probably like the number one sport agent in right now. Like
wow.
He signed a lot of the NBA players that are in the league right now. Not just NBA, he has football players on his in his company. Yeah. So like Maverick, I don't know if you heard his friend Maverick. He does big time interviews with a lot of artists, a lot of sport legends, and all that stuff. So all of his team, everybody on his team is integrated into. He put everybody on pretty much.
Yeah, that's dope, and that's how you should do it, as you said.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the place I'm coming from, right? It's let's start changing our lives. Let's start changing our people's lives.
Yeah.
And let's start getting to a place of self-accountability, doing for self.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Some people that have been motivations for me and influences for me, people like Tyler Perry.
Right.
A lot of people say I look like the guy. And they say, if you look like somebody on this earth that has done it, there's no excuse for you.
Right.
And you could do it too. So I'm kind of happy I kind of look like TP. Oh, there's him. Charlemagne the God. I love his platform and what he does. Right. Earn Your Leisure. Gary V. Kevin O'Leary. These are just some of the masterminds that have helped propel who I am as a person.
Right.
And I strongly encourage you guys, rewind that. Go and investigate these people. Go and look into them. Go and look into their platforms. And yeah. Man, I'm happy for this journey. I can't wait.
Yes, sir.
I really can't wait to get this podcast fully off the ground. And now we've really figured out some tools, tips, and tricks to propel what we've already been doing.
Yeah.
And especially with the integration of AI.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people hate AI. Oh my God, AI took my Walmart job. What am I gonna do? It's bound to happen. But are you gonna let it kick you down, or are you gonna, fight fire with fire?
Right.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, use it to your advantage.
Because tell them, how much has AI helped graphic design?
A whole lot. Let's just say that. I'm able to produce something by just typing. I can type, put BuzzB in a red sweater, make him a Santa Claus for Christmas. and it does it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But obviously, it's not fully 100%.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'll add in my own style to it, but it's helped cut down costs or time.
Yeah.
Even costs too.
Yeah. Time is money.
And it's amazing. You just gotta work with it.
Yeah. AI is definitely something that everybody I encourage who's listening to this, because this is now, as we're now recording this is the beginning of 2024.
Yes.
And it is very, 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 very important that everybody learns AI.
Right.
The quote I heard, and it was from Gary Vee, if you don't spend at least 20 hours studying AI in some way, shape, or form, you're doing your business and yourself a huge disservice.
Yeah.
It's coming whether you like it or not.
Absolutely.
It is here.
Yeah.
And it's growing rapidly.
Yeah. So
unless you learn how to utilize it to your advantage ASAP,
right.
you're just going to get washed away with everything else. Right? That's it, man. Yeah. I think that was a great intro that explains who we are, where we're going, what the point of the podcast is about.
Yeah.
And just know too, we're going to have a lot of esteemed guests, a lot of people that, we hold in high regard, even if they're not the most famous of people.
Right.
They're going to be people that we hold in high regard in their spaces that we want to come and, shed light on important things that our culture needs to start understanding and learning.
Yeah.
Because it's our time now to break the curses of
Absolutely.
our predecessors, you know what I mean? And the people before us.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, it's the Up From Here podcast. Look forward to our first guest that we're going to have next week. This is a famous one. So guys, make sure and tune in, follow the page, share the link with your friends, family, and make sure when you're watching the show, if you get some sort of value, some laugh, if you get something out of the show, make sure to hit that like button every single time, because it helps us grow in the algorithm.
Absolutely.
Right? The like button, comment, share,
right.
all of that good stuff. It helps us get to where we need to go. All right, guys, we appreciate you. We thank you so much, and keep along for the ride. It's only up from here. We out.
Peace.